Hi, I'm Lizbeth Lopez, and I'm going to be walking us through the practice and application SIOP model. So, for this model, practice and application, it allows teachers to think about how their students might practice and apply language and content knowledge. So, teachers should give students a chance to practice with new material and with careful teacher oversight. Teachers should also plan tasks that allow students to apply new knowledge in new ways. And it's important that we include and aim to include all four language skills, which we'll spend more time talking about too, which are reading, writing, listening, and speaking as well. And I think it's really important too to remember that with this model, students should learn and practice the content and the activities should allow students to apply that content and language knowledge within their learning. So essentially, they're both kind of working together there. So there are three components to the SIOP model, practice and application. We have feature 20, which provides hands-on material and or manipulatives. Feature 21, which provides activities for students to apply content and language knowledge. And feature 22, which includes all four language skills within the activity. Now, a teacher does not necessarily have to assess for every single language skill, but they kind of work together, all four of them. It's important for our ELL students, and they need to connect these abstract concepts with these concrete experiences. So this is essentially what hands-on materials and manipulatives allow those students to do. Teachers should give students multiple opportunities to practice in relevant and meaningful ways. And then teachers should include guided practice and model through practice sessions before students work individually. Again, providing that hands-on experiences that include manipulatives. And it's important for teachers to keep these four things in mind, that being breaking up content into parts. So I guess, dividing it into short, meaningful chunks. Practice period should be short time that includes effort and intent to learn. So keeping it short, right? 10 to 15 minutes, but again, that includes that effort and intent to learn. And then new learning should be practiced several times in a closed period of time, and older should be in a period farther apart. So essentially, let's keep those practice periods frequent and close together when it is exploring new ideas. That'll be important for our students. And also the importance of giving that teacher feedback, right? Give specific feedback, timely, in a timely manner, so students can know what to work on or what they should do. Again, progress is always achieved when students have that opportunity to practice in multiple ways. So for Feature 21, activities provided for students to apply content and language knowledge. So students learn best when they involve themselves in meaningful application. That should include opportunities for them to practice language knowledge and classroom content, and include opportunities for group work to develop language, and should still include a supportive environment. So, including those different methods of differentiation and scaffolding depending on our students' needs. And I think with this model or with this specific feature, it is important, you know, and I think this is very true for a lot of our students. Students learn best when they can connect things personally, right? So this essentially helps students spark their own prior knowledge and experiences. And some examples for that is keeping personal journals, using, a teacher or a student teaching another student something, like, again, making it very personal and student centered. I think is kind of one of the best ways to do this specific feature. All right, then we have feature 22. Activities integrate all language skills. So again, that reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So all of those are mutually supportive. All of those are essentially there. They need to be developed in conjunction with one another. Students don't need to be proficient speakers before they start, reading and writing. And when we encourage these different modalities, it allows our students to practice and apply new knowledge through different language processes. And not all of these need to be assessed in the same way. So teachers do have that flexibility, right, in assessing, and they should be included to support student needs and further language and content development. Again, the practice itself is important. So practicing in one area helps that development in the other areas also. So a few lesson ideas I think that involve a lot of these features. It is like bingo or build your own Jeopardy, right? Including students in their learning process, right? Making your own bingo. Those graphic organizers are always helpful. Piso Pizza is the jigsaw activity that I will be walking us through. And then writing in a journal, again, making those personal. You can also have students working together, teaching another student, right? All of these are kind of some lesson ideas, small group work, small discussion groups. For this model. There are a couple ways to differentiate here, and specifically with practice and application, it works great when you have a class with many different levels or students and proficiency levels. So allowing for multiple ways of practice, grouping students into groups, and encouraging that cooperative learning. Appropriately modifying assignments and readings to fit a student's English or second language proficiency, which is what we'll see presented in my lesson. Teachers should work with small groups when possible and provide feedback that's geared to the student's proficiency level in a timely manner. Okay, so the purpose of this lesson is so students can build a pizza, quote unquote. It's essentially almost like, and I'll show some images to help us understand this, but students build a pizza with the information that they receive to see how all events connect and lead to the American Revolution. So this is for a high school U.S. history class, which students need to graduate. So our content objective here is students will be able to analyze and describe how an event led to colonies into the American Revolution. And the language objective is students will be able to summarize in writing how their assigned event led the colonies into the American Revolution. So for my lesson description, so prior to this lesson, students would have gone through notes regarding colonist reactions to British rule up until the American Revolution. I like to call these the road to revolution. So essentially, students would have received notes from their teacher, analyze images that connected to the event that lead to the American Revolution, because it's multiple events. For example, looking at the Boston Tea Party or Boston Massacre, like what's happening, what do you see? Those are kind of good ways to get students to practice talking as well, and connecting it to the actual event. So for practice and application, students will be broken up into groups and read on an event that led up to the Revolutionary War. So kind of like a jigsaw, each student will have a specific event, whether it's the French and Indian War, the Stamp Act, Declaratory Act, Townshend Act, Boston Tea Party and Massacre, whatever it is, students will get a reading based on group levels that will be differentiated, so based on their proficiency. And the readings would be differentiated as well, right, depending on student levels. They will need to demonstrate that each event had a role in the Revolutionary War by becoming experts on that event. Students will then create that pizza slice by transferring information about the event. It could be with images, sentences, if they'd like, and this information will then be presented to the rest of the class to connect how each event has played a role in the American Revolution. All right, so I'm going to walk us through this outline. So again, students are going to get that assigned reading on whatever event. They'll gather information on their own, like who, what, when, and where, and why, with a group. Again, that group based on their proficiency level. And again, it also helps when it's grouped into groups, because then the teacher can support those that really need it or that need that additional support. Again, this is a great opportunity to split and differentiate based on their proficiency. And again, they're learning about the same material. They're just kind of becoming experts in their own topic, but it all comes together. And that's the whole point of the pizza pie or the pizza slice. It comes together. So as a group, they'll read to each other, and then they create their slice and represent how each event leads to the American Revolution. Their pizza slice with new information should include sentences as well as images to help represent the information using visual representation. Students should also include vocabulary, so looking at colonists, and these are and their specific events. So these have all been introduced during the American Revolution unit. As a whole, students will present the information on their pizza slice. This way, students who feel most comfortable with speaking in front of the class will be able to. It is important to create that supportive environment and remember to be sensitive when correcting students. So if it does not impede on communication, we don't necessarily need to correct that, again, because we want students to feel comfortable in speaking. And I'm okay with, at this point, letting the students feel most comfortable from each group speak out because they were talking to each other within their groups. Again, looking at how they've used reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So here's an example that a teacher has used. So for science, they use this for vocabulary. So for a specific unit, students can each be assigned a different vocabulary word and focus on their pizza slice. It can also be done with math, right? So this is just kind of some examples. Again, the whole purpose is to see how all of these come together as a whole and kind of relate to what students are learning. All right, and here are some of my relevance to my learners. Candidates demonstrate knowledge of English language structures in different discourse contexts to promote acquisition of reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills across content areas. Candidates serve as language models for ELLs and instruct ELLs using evidence-based, student-centered, developmentally appropriate, interactive approaches. So that was my lesson. Hopefully I provided some kind of knowledge or background or content to practice an application. So thanks, guys, for listening. All right, see ya.